Another border battle coming up on Black Friday, Iowa and Nebraska. And how good have most of the border rivals gone? It's been the Hawkeyes all the way in 3 out of 4. And, of course, added to that total against Illinois last weekend, it's now 8 straight against the Illini, 7 against Minnesota, and 6 against Nebraska. Got to get that up to 7, but certainly won't be easy. And we've talked to Gavin about Nebraska a lot this year and the fact that the offense is pretty good, put up points. The defense is certainly respectable, but it's been special teams and turnovers that have really hampered this team. And no Adrian Martinez, another item to throw into the mix this week.
Yeah, and last week Wisconsin, they battled their tails off. Well, they gave up the first kickoff. They gave up a touchdown. You go back to the Michigan State game, they're winning. They gave up 17 yards in the second half. They do a directional punt. The punter kicks it to the wrong guy, and they run it and they house it for a touchdown. So those detail things, the special teams, I think, and actually looking at big picture, speaking of special teams and defense, some real quick stats, all right? Iowa, well, let's go back. Texas, let's talk about Texas. 36.5 points a game, 429 yards. They're 4-7. Iowa State, 33 points a game, 293 yards a game, 6-5. And then Iowa, 25.5 points a game, 293 yards. We're 9-2. So the idea is that, okay, we may not have the style points, but we're winning games because of our defense and our special teams to the point of Nebraska.
Yeah, and that's really good stuff, too, because a couple of those schools are really struggling in the Big 12. And you go back to Nebraska, too, and which kind of ties into what we're talking about. You look at their 5 losses. They've lost 5 games in a row, 3, 5, 9, and 7. And back-to-back games against Ohio State and Wisconsin. So they've been right there. And the Purdue game, too, they had a 13-yard punt at their own end, which really hampered them. So it just tells you they're not doing a good job in the turnover margin. Iowa's plus 12, Nebraska minus 4. But still, this is a game, Matt, a ton on the line. Going to need a little help from the Minnesota Gophers, talking about border rivals, defeating Wisconsin. Nebraska came close, didn't quite get it done, but still one more opportunity. But the key thing is Iowa has to get a victory. And, boy, how sweet would 10 wins with this team be?
And I think that's kind of what we lose sight of. So you mentioned those other teams that are kind of struggling. It's because they have turnover year after year, or it seems like nobody's really cemented themselves. You talk about Nebraska losing a lot of close games under a lot of different head coaching. KF has been around a long time. A lot of 10-win seasons, one on the opportunity, or we're knocking on the opportunity right now for 10 wins in the regular season. Look around, it doesn't happen that often. But you talk about one-score games, that's something that Iowa's known for, just putting it away, making sure that we get enough done to win the game, and that's kind of what it is. No style points, let's just go get the win.
Yeah, and Iowa's last 3 victories, 17-12, 27-22, and then 33-23, though it was wider than that until the late Illinois touchdown. But didn't get off to a great start and needed something to kick into gear, and Charlie Jones answers the bell once again.
Charlie Jones really has stood out as I think one of the most impactful players of the season, certainly in the special teams unit in general. You look at what Coach LeVar Woods has done with that entire special teams unit. It's just a factor that we have the edge so far over most teams that we've played with being able to recruit a guy like Tory Taylor in. Who got robbed by not being
coming back.
He's coming back. Got robbed by not being on the Ray guy. Caleb Shudak, you could also make an argument he should be in the Groza running, or at least certainly, both those guys are top 5 in their respective fields. But LeVar, I think he's a future head coach someday. He inspires people. He's a culture builder, and I think that's been a really big difference for us this year.
You'll have another good point that you bring up, the kicking. The punting and the kicking. Tory Taylor talked about it this week, the fact that, okay, hey, those award winners, a lot of them are down south. Try coming up here and kicking when it's 35 or 40 degrees and you've got 15 to 20 mile an hour winds versus 75 degrees and sunny and a nice calm day. Makes a difference. And these people that sit on these committees for these awards, I'm not saying some of those players aren't very worthy of this, but boy, they certainly need to look at climate and elements and what you're doing for your team and winning games when you're that good at special teams.
Well, I know catching a rock isn't always the funnest thing, so
right.
I can't imagine kicking a rock is much.
Yeah, I mean, that plays into it as
fun.
well, the return game.
And shoot at the amount of touchbacks we have on kickoffs. And if you look, 10 guys, I'll give Caleb a break because he's the kicker, 10 guys sprint down through the end zone, make sure that they're sending a message that if you want to take it out on us, you're going to have to be prepared because we're coming every single time.
Well, Illinois' kicker found out why you don't try to go make tackles because he barely got over to the sideline after trying to tackle Charlie Jones.
And I'm gonna guess that his angle wasn't quite great. He probably doesn't work that drill too often, and we'll talk about it here. But our like you said, our special teams are blocking guys that maybe don't know where their niche is on offense or defense. They find it on special teams and they take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, and both of you guys excelled at special teams. And Gavin, you look at, and we'll take a look at obviously Charlie Jones' 100-yard kick return. But guys making plays in special teams, blocking, that extra effort that don't play necessarily much from scrimmage, but make their mark on special teams. And I'm talking about seniors and redshirt juniors. And they're as happy for Charlie and that unit as you would if you were scoring 3 or 4 touchdowns a game.
Irie Kelly-Martin, Henry Marchese. You certainly got Terry Roberts who's injured, but he's made a career out of special teams. Those guys have a lot to be proud of because, you know, that's another play on the field. And in fact, there's a lot. You think about it, you know, even a 40-yard, 30-yard kickoff return. That's 3 first downs. You know, so there's a big important. Every time they get on the field is really important. So they've got a lot to feel proud of.
Yeah, and to be able to play the field position game and also punt return yards, kick return yards, hidden yardage. Going back to Nebraska, their punt return yards are 3.3 as an average. Not very good. Kickoff return, 15.6. You want to be in the high 20s and the 30s there because there's 2 first downs right there. Open up the playbook at the 40, 35-yard line versus the 20 or 25.
Well, and it's interesting how contrasting we are right now, right? In terms of, again, long tenured coach, a lot of shifting on their side, and maybe that's why we're able to see kind of this consistent play on the back end. But you mean hidden yardage, even if Charlie's calling it a fair catch, as opposed to being able to track it, and we don't lose 15 yards because it goes by. But there was a punt return where he caught it on the left. He's running 30 yards to go to the right, but he still finds a way to get 15-plus yards, and that's the hidden yardage.
Yeah, and don't make mistakes. That's certainly the key. So the Hawkeyes and the Cornhuskers a day early on Black Friday, and of course Iowa's already been through this short week before this year, having played Maryland on the road on a Friday night. We'll be back and take a look at some top plays from Iowa and Illinois from last Saturday. Black and Gold Breakdown on MC22 is brought to you by McGrath Family of Dealerships, 5 Seasons Tire, Tom Riley Law Firm, Collins Community Credit Union, Heartland Hearing Center, and by Extreme, powered by Mediacom.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening. Our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and Mediacom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible. Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At Mediacom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Thank you for virtual family dinners and long-distance birthday wishes. Thank you for sweet streaming melodies and spontaneous dance parties. Thank you for keeping classrooms together and learning alive. Thank you to our incredible network of employees who make all these beautiful connections possible.
One positive that came out other than a victory against Illinois was the running game really got going, I thought, for the Hawkeyes. 132 yards from Tyler Goodson. line play, I think, has gotten better, especially in pass protection the last couple of weeks. And this was the longest run from scrimmage with Tyler Goodson. Look at Linderbaum just moving people, get to the second level, and then Goodson hits the hole hard this time. A little bit of a cutback right up the middle, and Tyler Goodson out of not good field position. And then you see the big man circled right there, Connor Colby, with a nice kick-out block as well. And you see Goodson, very tough to bring down. More explosive plays like that. Iowa football, especially when you're inside your own 20.
Yeah, we established a run really, really well. Dane Belton here, we're in cover 2, and he does a great job. It was just a great read by him, playing his role. As you can see, they go out to the flat and they're running a curl behind him, and his responsibility is that curl, and he reads it perfectly. Kind of almost baits that quarterback into making that throw. That's the experience that Dane has. He's smart. He did that on purpose, I'm sure. Threw it right to him.
And good hands.
Yeah.
Tucks it away.
Unbelievable year for him.
Arlen Bruce, I feel like we're always talking about some freshman receiver with some major play that they had. We've come back to this a few different times. This is very similar to his touchdown against Northwestern. Good end around. We get the defensive end to crash, but at 5'10", 190 pounds, he's not shying away from contact. He's looking to hit somebody.
And had to make a play to get in the end zone.
Absolutely.
Jack Campbell, just kind of a gift here, but I'll tell you what, be in the right spot, and I know he debated in his head in the post game about whether or not I should have scored on that, and I think the answer is absolutely. I mean, wide open, let's go. And meaning we could have kneeled the ball probably and just walked off with it, but a touchdown also puts this game out of reach. So great job by Jack. Shows off his ball skills a little bit. Jack was a heck of a basketball player at Cedar Falls High School, and hey, he'll take it. So nice job.
But it shows you too, guys, you've talked about a lot. Nobody's out of position, right? That's why the ball's coming right to you.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if he really knew how to celebrate at the very end. I think he was shocked he
I
scored.
didn't think he wanted to go in, technically.
But this guy definitely wanted to go in. You're going to see Ivory Kelly Martin get a pancake on the end. Henry Marquez makes the contained guy stay inside, runs him for probably 35 yards, and then Charlie Jones does the rest. I mean, on senior day, being able to score in front of the Hawkeye faithful, get us going. We had a hard time getting up. I mean, you see everybody on the sideline. I'm getting chills just talking about it right now. This is what really started Iowa to get back into that game.
And the key thing that, if you saw, the last guy that had an opportunity was the Illinois kicker. And Charlie talked about it. He goes, I didn't want that to happen again. Not a chance that kicker is going to bring me down. And that's just great team football. Ivory Kelly Martin been hampered by injuries again this year, but still makes a huge play in special teams. Now that he's back after missing a couple of weeks, then Henry Marquez doing the job with his brother on the other sideline. So nice way for him to go out at Kinnick Stadium as well. We'll talk Players of the Week when we come back. Stay with us. More Black and Gold Breakdown coming up.
While a lot is changing in our world, at Mediacom, our focus remains the same, making sure you have the fastest, most reliable connection possible. During this critical time, we know your needs are changing. You may be working or learning from home, relying on telemedicine, or finding new ways to keep everyone entertained. If you need more speed, call or go online, and Mediacom will double your speed immediately for as low as $10 more a month for 1 year. Right now, millions of people and billions of devices are connected to the internet. Homes, businesses, hospitals, schools. The security and reliability of these connections are more important than ever. That's why at Mediacom, we've built a network to protect them. A network that sees threats, fixes problems before they occur, and keeps you going with 99.99% network reliability. Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and Mediacom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Well, we talked about getting that running game going, and that's a real good sign, especially in November football. But the last game didn't feel a whole lot like November, and it's supposed to be in the 60s at Lincoln on Friday, and I'm all for that. 65 there 4 years ago. Hopefully it's about that on Friday. But Tyler Goodson, and he's kept his head up. He's had some tough games, maybe not the holes that he would like to see in between the tackles, but still runs hard, churns out the yards, and has a chance to still be all Big Ten.
Yeah. Obviously, we got a special player there with Tyler, and I think our offensive line's maturity, being able to work up to the second level on some of those combination blocks, I think is what's really opened that running game up, particularly against Illinois. And Tyler, I would like to see us give him the ball in space in the pass game a little bit more. I think he's got some really nice hands there, but really a good, maybe his best game this past week, and hopefully get a little more of that this Friday, Rob.
Yeah, he was feeling good afterward, and certainly that offensive line is starting to run block well, and hopefully Mason Richmond can get back and play a little bit on Friday, the Hawkeyes left tackle that got hurt at Northwestern. As we focus on defense and talk a little bit more about Jack Campbell, who led the Hawks with 8 tackles. I really spread it around from a tackle standpoint and had that interception and took it to the house, and just been terrific all year. And here's a guy that I think a lot of scouts have been down on the field before the game looking at him. I assume he'll come back. We'll assume that he'll be a Hawkeye next year, but he's got NFL at some point in time written all over him.
Well, it's interesting that a lot of colleges told him he was too big to play linebacker. They're like, you're going to have your hand in the dirt, and he's like, no, I can do this. And Iowa's got a way of finding the right position for guys, and he is just absolutely going nuts playing middle linebacker for us.
Yeah, I can't say enough about his tenacity, his work ethic when he hits people every time that they feel it. And I'll say, his discipline that he's developed. I think Coach Wallace, is maybe the unsung coach on the staff right now, and what he's been able to do with this linebacker core. And if you watch the Iowa games, Coach Wallace a lot of times is right there in the middle of those huddles of the defense, getting on these guys and leading just as much as Coach Parker is. I think Coach Wallace is another up-and-coming coach to watch as a future head coach. Iowa guy, Grinnell's dad coached at Grinnell. So Coach Wallace has done an unbelievable job with both him and Seth and Justin Jacobs. He coaches all the linebackers, and Jack just continues to grow every week.
Who else stood out for you on the defensive side last week?
I'll give a shout out to a local guy, Quinn Schulte from Cedar Rapids. When we went cash, we slide Dane down to the cash position, or I guess nickel. We slide getting Dane down to the cash position. We bring Quinn Schulte in because Jack Kerner was hurt. He made a big play at the end of the game, towards the end of the game on a 4th down play, knocked the ball out. He might have been 3rd down, forced him to punt, but Quinn came in and I thought played really, really sound football. Cedar Rapids Xavier grad, his dad coaches at Xavier. Really heady kid, tough, plays really smart. So
and
cool
his first real playing experience in that game.
It really was. Yeah, he's had some special teams time, obviously, but his first real time on there listed as a starter at free safety.
Yeah, and his older brother Bryce, a tight end for the Hawkeyes, ran out for senior day at Kinnick last Saturday. Time for X's and O's.
All right, welcome to today's segment of X's and O's. It's the last regular season of the game. We got the Heroes Trophy on the line this Friday at Nebraska. So 2 plays that I want to look at that Nebraska runs really effectively that our defense has to look out for. Obviously, Adrian Martinez is not playing, but you have another mobile quarterback in Logan Smothers stepping in. Not a lot of game experience, but they will get him in space. So the first play that I'm concerned about that our defense, I'm sure, is preparing for is just a general boot, all right, which is a play action, roll the quarterback out. All right, they'll come out with a formation. You got 2 receivers into the boundary, a tight end off the line of scrimmage here, near back, all right, towards the field, the wide receiver out here. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll just run a play action here, fake the handoff, all right, and they'll actually pull this guard to be the extra protection for the quarterback here, okay? This running back will pick up our backside DN, and they'll make sure that they get help on the tackle there from their offensive tackle. They'll run a deep post in the backside, run this receiver across, and the tight end will be kind of a safety valve here with a deep out at the receiver, all right? So they'll play action pass, boot this quarterback out. Obviously, the highest risk play for us is this backside post. It's important that we're smart on the free safety, not biting on this play here, all right, but getting him in space to where he's got options and he's not just a pocket passer. I think they'll try to get him options and get him on his feet running. And certainly they got a good tight end in Austin Allen. And then number 3, the receiver is the guy who they like to go deep to. So big risk play. The number one thing we have to think about defensively here is we have to have eye discipline. If they're pulling the guard, all right, if they're pulling the guard this way, where do you think the ball's going? It's going this way. All right, this play action run right here, it's just smoke and mirrors, okay? So we gotta watch this guard. The other thing is we have to have the discipline on reading a pass versus run on the offensive lineman. All right, our linebackers need to recognize, all right, how hard they're coming off the ball. They can't come off the ball 2-3 yards down the field and pass the football. So we have to be smart. That same thing applies, that concept of run discipline applies to their run-pass options. They'll do the same thing here. They'll fake a run, and they'll make this a run-pass option, which means this offensive line is not in a run-blocking situation. They try to make it look like that, but there's a big difference in how that offensive line fires off the ball, okay? So the run-pass option means this quarterback has the option to run the football or pass the football, all right? So they'll just do a little sail concept here, backside post, deep dig type thing. So our defense has to be disciplined in recognizing, are they running the football or are they setting up their RPO or boot? And there's a big difference in that offensive line on how aggressive and how hard they fire off the football, and the discipline with the eyes, which I think our defense has a big advantage over. Right? Coach Parker preaches that discipline. So that run-pass option play, all right, the one that the Penn State quarterback got hurt on, we have to be able to be disciplined on that. The boot, another one. Let's put some hits on this quarterback early. We should have a good, successful game and a big, big win this coming Friday. That's it for today's segment of X's and O's.
Well, we've talked about how successful at times Nebraska's offense has been. It's been a lot due to plays like that. But remember, no Adrian Martinez on Friday. So we'll see if Logan Smothers, gets to start. He's expected to. And how much that offense changes up. Gavin, thanks very much for X's and O's today. And we'll be back and talk Iowa and Nebraska and some other huge games around the Big Ten when we come back. Black and Gold Breakdown on MC22 is brought to you by McGrath Family of Dealerships, 5 Seasons Tire, Tom Riley Law Firm, Collins Community Credit Union, Heartland Hearing Center, and by Extreme, powered by Mediacom.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening. Our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and Mediacom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible. Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At Mediacom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Thank you for virtual family dinners and long-distance birthday wishes. Thank you for sweet streaming melodies and spontaneous dance parties. Thank you for keeping classrooms together and learning alive. Thank you to our incredible network of employees who make all these beautiful connections possible.
Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At Mediacom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared. And you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Black Friday, Iowa and Nebraska, Memorial Stadium, Lincoln. Of course, the Hawkeyes have dominated the series as of late, 6 in a row. And Matt, you certainly remember that huge victory back in 2015 to seal off the undefeated season for the Hawks, which was great memories there. And as you mentioned at the top of the show, a chance to win 10 games, and depending on what happens with Wisconsin and Minnesota, maybe an extra game in Indy.
Well, and that's the thing that Coach Ferentz always talks about. You want to play meaningful games in November. You want to get to the end of the season and know you're still playing for something. And there's a lot left for this Hawkeye team to achieve. And yeah, that last game out in Nebraska was a little bit colder than what we're going to see on Friday, and so I'm pretty jealous.
Yeah, that was a little chilly, but nice celebration afterward on the turf.
We warmed up pretty
in
quick.
Lincoln. I'm sure you did. A happy trip home for sure. And Gavin, I think you look at this, Adrian Martinez not going to play, which is too bad for Nebraska. And I think when it's Iowa, you can't say, okay, well, now this is easy, that a guy that's thrown for almost 8,500 yards in his career isn't going to be there, because who knows? Sometimes teams can rally around the second quarterback. Logan Smothers is his name, redshirt freshman. He's only thrown 11 passes this year, rushed 13 times for 69 yards, so really an unknown commodity.
Yeah, it really is. And so, does it limit what they can do offensively in their playbook? I think it does a little bit, but at the same time, as much as Adrian was a really good player, he also kind of threw a lot of interceptions. You like to look at last week in Wisconsin, a couple of the balls he throws, you just kind of scratch your head a little bit. So will they keep this new kid kind of corralled? And we need to be smart with the football. That changes the complexion of the game. And the same side, on the same side of it, Coach Eric Chenander, the defensive coordinator in Nebraska, as an Iowa guy, played at Iowa, good friends with Brian Ferentz and things. So he knows how we do things. He knows us well. So there's going to be that challenge as well. But I think for the most part, Coach Phil Parker will hopefully dial up some unique things for this new quarterback. Because when you do, as I talked about in Black and Gold, or in the X's and O's, I think they'll roll this guy out a lot. When you do that, there's a lot of risk there. And if we can be ahead of the game on where they're going to roll out to, bring in blitzes to get in his face, defending that run-pass option that they'll probably use him with. I think we're going to be in a good spot to create some turnovers and really get him on his heels.
Yeah, set the tone early. And Nebraska, it'll be interesting to me to see how they come out and play. Scott Frost, of course, is going to, by all indications, be there next year. So trying to get some momentum going into the offseason, which victory over the Hawkeyes would certainly do. Let's take a quick look at the standings. You pretty much know what has to happen for the Hawkeyes. We also know it's either going to be Ohio State or Michigan. Ohio State is undefeated, of course, and Michigan a chance in Ann Arbor to try to get something done. We'll see. And on the other side, it's obviously Wisconsin and Minnesota. We'll see what happens and be right here to talk about it next week on Black and Gold Breakdown.